Hello, Janksters, and welcome to another edition of the MagicJank podcast, the show where members of Team MagicJank get together and talk about things that are happening in the world of Magic. My name's Graham. I go by Hamhawks42 on the internet, and I'm joined by Damien, F16. Damien, how you doing, man?
Hey, I'm good. Thank you for asking, Ham. How are you?
Doing well. No complaints. I mean, we're going to talk about Magic, so I'm going to have a good night. Yeah, that's what, what it comes down to. Absolutely. And we're also joined by another member of Team MagicJank making his podcast debut with Numbskull. Numbskull, how you doing, man? Good to see you.
I'm good. Hey, how are you guys doing, man? I'm happy to be here, and thank you for having me.
Dude, thank you for being here.
No problem.
And hopefully the first time of many, if I'm honest, because I know this is going to be a great discussion.
Yes, yeah. I knew I wanted to get on with the podcast with you guys for a while, and I'm glad we finally got around to it.
Heck yeah, man. Yeah. So since for regular listeners of this podcast, maybe they haven't seen you before, and maybe they haven't hung out on your stream because, you know, but whatever the case may be, how would you introduce yourself? What are you putting out there in the universe, and what can people expect to see with the other content that you're making?
Yeah, so of course I'm Numbskull. Stream on Twitch. Not much of a YouTuber because I'm not very good at editing videos, but aside from that, I stream on Twitch pretty often. You'll see me sometimes doing commentary for the Pizza Box tournaments. You may have seen me before doing that. Of course, we're all on Team MagicJank. And then I also write with both Hamhawks and Damien here for MTG Circle. We each do one article a week. So you'll see me doing content there. And then, of course, you'll mainly see me on Twitch, but I'm all over the internet, be it social media or whatever else.
So what kind of
I live here.
What have you been What have you been playing these days? Have you been playing Standard or Alchemy, Historic, Timeless? Like, I know you're mostly on Arena, right? So what have you been
Yeah, I mostly do Arena. I have been getting more into paper lately because it's Pioneer RCQ season. So nice. I have been playing a good bit of Explorer on Arena. I probably should be playing more MTGO right now than I'm not really playing any. I probably should be doing that too. But yeah, I've been doing that, playing a lot of Pioneer on paper. And then, I've been playing Waste Not. Mono Black Waste Not.
In Pioneer? Nice. I was going to say, I don't know how many people out here know this, but Numbskull is a Mono Black Necromancer. He loves playing Black in basically every format. So yeah, I was going to ask you what you were playing in Pioneer. Of course, it's the Waste Not deck.
Like, when I introduce myself to people that haven't played against me much in paper, I usually just say I'm the guy who forces Mono Black in every format. Sometimes even in draft if I think I can do it.
Nice. Well, we're gonna take a look at some spoilers today from MH3. I don't know how many black cards we have. There's a lot of colorless nonsense with all the Eldrazi and everything, but
cool effect nonetheless.
Yeah,
very true. Yes, and right now. Yeah, so we have a couple things to discuss today, and we can even start with the Modern Horizons 3 previews if you'd like. I mean, we certainly can.
Before we get into that, there was some other news. So Ham, what do we have on the agenda?
Yeah, so there was a banned and restricted announcement, which came up this past week, and whenever the BNRs show up, a lot of people in various formats get excited about what might change, or maybe there's some fear and trepidation about particular decks getting dropped. If you've been playing in Standard, I know I personally didn't expect to see any bans, and sure enough, there was nothing that affected Standard, so okay, fine.
Yeah.
However, we saw bans in Pauper, Legacy, and Vintage.
Right.
Of all things. So, it's interesting. So, I mean, on the one hand, all the glitters was banned from Pauper. Card's very powerful. Okay. I don't believe any of us play Pauper. Check me if I'm wrong on that, but...
Yeah, I mean, I used to play and I dabble, I look at some of the Pauper, tournament results and stuff and see what's winning. And, it seems like it's always these artifact decks. It was ATOG, decks that were like affinity decks, basically, that were very, very good for a long time. And then this All That Glitters is basically just another version of that. And it can kill you on turn 2. It can do 20 damage to you on turn 2. In that deck, which is nasty. Remember, this is Pauper with all commons. But, it's one of those, artifacts, I don't know, until they get rid of the affinity cards, I think artifacts are always going to be just a dominant deck in Pauper. So they've had to ban so many cards from that archetype already. Not surprised to see all the glitters disappear here, but... That's all I really know about it. It was very busted, and now it's gone. And I don't think anybody's crying over Affinity losing a busted tool. So
Right. I always find Pauper hilarious because in my head it's like, oh, it's only common, so it must be low power, right? And then it's like, well,
no.
I mean, cards like Dark Ritual and Brainstorm were printed at common, so like,
oh yeah, and I mean, even the term pauper is misleading. It's not cheap. Like until they reprinted Oubliette, Oubliette was like $50 or something, and it was like a 4 of, and pauper decks that were $300. You're like, wait a second, what? Why is this format called? Anyway, never mind.
Yeah, but exactly. It's funny how that works, isn't it? Because yeah, and but it's kind of a self-fulfilling kind of loop, right? Because if it's popular, there will be a high demand. If the demand is high, the prices will be high, and here we are.
Go up.
Yeah.
It kind of shows like the like power creep over time too of everything, like and how interesting early on card design was. Like they really printed Dark Ritual and thought everything was going to be okay.
Yeah, common.
Yeah, exactly. They thought that was a perfectly fair balanced card. Like, no problem.
This is going to be super fun, and we're going to have great interactions, and we're not going to have to ban it. This is a great idea, and it's going to get past QA, and we're going to have no problems. So some of those are funny, and then like you said, that they're printed as commons or whatever. Yeah. But I think we're starting to see, especially nowadays, like the whole common, uncommon, mythic. It's starting, like, that classification for whether a card is good or not is, I think you can throw it more and more out the window every day now.
Yeah.
There's some pretty terrible mythics and not too good rares. And then there are some uncommons that are phenomenal, that have been phenomenal throughout the past few years. And even some commons that are good too, that see play in every format.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, the floor, like really for the commons, it's not like they're a lot more, the ceiling is a lot higher than it used to be. It's more that the floor is a lot higher. Like commons were so much worse back then. If you ever played Limited and you played some old core set pre-M10, I would say any set designed pre-M10 has just like, the commons are unplayable garbage. Like you can't even play most of them. Now the floor is so high that, in this deck that all that glitters got banned in, it's playing stuff like Blood Fountain. Even in original Mirrodin, there was no 1-mana artifact that makes 2 artifacts. Like making 2 artifacts is so ridiculous in Affinity. And that's just a common now because every common poops out another piece of cardboard. So the floor has come up so high on the commons, they're all like generating cards or producing other game objects that Pauper is affected by that, right? So it's interesting to see,
some kind of 2-for-1 everywhere.
Yeah,
and it's also funny though. They've been designing for Pauper these days too, because if you look at a card like Tolarian Terror or Rust Goliath or you can't. Those are uncommon designs. Like those should like those are power levels. And like Ulamog's Crusher is another one that I believe was a pretty big player in Pauper at one point. Where it's like, that thing's just gigantic, and anything that big should probably be an uncommon, but I have a feeling that somebody on the design team was just like, but if we make it common, there's demand for it. We can power creep Pauper a little bit, and all of a sudden,
maybe. Yeah, I wonder. I know Gavin's very good about this, right? He goes on the record and he does the best write-ups every time there's a banning or anything. A lot of the formats, like the last ban announcement, we were like, what? This is, when they banned what is it, the Violent Outburst in Modern, and the brief paragraph they gave on that and on Pioneer and stuff, we're just like, what? Like, I need more. Meanwhile, Gavin writes 2,000 words on why some random Pauper card got banned. So I know Pauper's in good hands, and I don't think this banning is going to piss a lot of people off. I think most people are fine with this. But what about the vintage legacy stuff? So now I think everybody was like, of course they had to ban this stuff eventually. I think everybody saw the writing on the wall with the stickers and all that stuff. And I mean, are you surprised? Is anybody surprised?
No. So they banned every card that is capable of generating a sticker onto the battlefield or an attraction. Those 2 mechanics were brought into the game in Unfinity, and a number of the cards that interacted with them were printed without the Acorn stamp and therefore were legal in all these formats. The main reason, and actually it's funny you mentioned the write-ups, because you're right, the Pauper write-ups as of late have been just absolutely phenomenal. And there's even, Gavin's even done videos, explaining things to make it abundantly clear. Like, I completely agree. Pauper's in great hands. Whereas Legacy and Vintage often don't get that. However, the write-up here was actually really candid and really on point and honest, which I just, it was great. I was really stoked to see that. So if you're not familiar with these mechanics, they were introduced in a joke set. Literally, it's an unset. and they were injected into these formats with the idea of they'll now be legal in Commander. I don't know why that was the correct move rather than like having some kind of meeting with the Commander RC and asking, hey, can this set get some kind of indemnification and be legal in the format? But whatever. So instead they decided to go that route. And what ended up happening was there is a single card that generates stickers. And actually, apparently there was an attraction deck as well in Legacy from what I understand. I think that was a playable archetype.
Really?
I heard that some people were trying it anyway. Whether it was good or not, I don't know. But it created this weird dynamic where those cards weren't available on MTGO because it was a freaking joke set that they didn't think they needed because none of the other unsets were on that client. And then on top of that, it creates these insane dynamics because with attractions, you have to have a separate attraction deck that is a separate object outside the game that you have to like register at the beginning. And same is true with stickers. If you have the stickers, you have to have a sticker deck as well that is registered before the game. And here's what gets weird. There is a single card, and I should have had it pulled up. And honestly, just trying to find this thing on Scryfall is a pain in the butt because the name is... It is not optimized. There are plenty of joke cards with joke names. That's part of the deal. But the card is Blank Goblin. So it's also been known as Name Sticker Goblin, but the community just calls it Mind Goblin. It just because Mind is one of the stickers that you can put on it. And so,
that's too perfect.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's a lot going on with the sticker cards that are a problem. I know a lot of people complain that there's too many outside objects that you need to carry with you now in Magic. You've got to have your dungeons, you've got to have all your tokens, you need your attraction deck, you need all this stuff. Your city's blessing and the monarch and you just go on and on about all these random things that you need outside the game. So people will defend some of this and say, well, yay, if I'm playing a sticker deck, I bring all my stickers, I register them, it's no big deal. But it's like, dude, you are so short-sighted. You're not thinking, what if I cast Clone on your sticker card and I copy your creature? Now I need to have my own stickers, and why would I carry my stickers around? Because I have Clone in my deck? Like, no, right?
100%.
It's like,
the only deck that was playing the stickers was Goblins. Because you had the Blank Sticker Goblin. Well, the thing is, whether or not you've registered a sticker deck is known information at the beginning of a match. If you're in a closed deck tournament and you don't have a sticker deck, you are showing your opponent that you are not playing Goblins before they've made a mulligan decision. So
just a mess.
And so it's one of those things, that's a minor advantage, that's a minor detail, but every edge counts. And so the tactically optimal thing to do, no matter what deck you're playing, is to rock up with a sticker deck to every Legacy or Vintage event ever moving forward. It is. It's arguable. It's probably, maybe it's a little silly, but it's there. You do get a competitive advantage, or you are leaving equity on the table if you do not have a sticker deck. And frankly, that's ridiculous. And it's just silly. And enough people called that out where it was just like, all right.
Yeah.
More of this.
Back in the day, when Miracles were part of the format, or if you're playing in a format with Miracles, it was common practice to always, every draw, even if you had 0 Miracles in your deck, like in, whatever Limited said, Rise of Avacyn Restored, Rise of the Eldrazi? No, I don't remember what set it was. But
it was one of those. Please leave a comment.
Correct me. And you would always just look, like you would flip the top card, like before you drew it in your hand, and look and wait for a second, then put it in your hand. You would do this even if you knew you had no Miracles in your deck, because it's a game of information. Exactly what you said. And you're giving up information to your opponent by not having a sticker deck and an attraction deck, even though you might not play either of those, just to prevent them from getting info on you, right? Yeah, totally. Stupid, and I think everybody knew these things were gonna never work in practice, and I'm kind of shocked that Wizards still prints these things. So zooming out a little bit, like from the actual cards themselves and what was banned and everything, I mean, this concept in general, do you think that Wizards should be making these sets? Do you think that Wizards should be allowing these sets to even be legal in the first place in constructed competitive environments? What do you guys think? Do you think do you like unsets? Did you play any Unfinity? I don't know. I didn't.
I have thoughts, but I'm going to leave the... So, Numbskull, do you have what are your thoughts on this?
I've... some friends and I, we bought an Unfinity pack before, or the set of it, or whatever you want to call it. I think it's more than a pack, but it's like not as many cards as a full set, but I think it comes with enough cards to make 2 decks to play against one another. I think that's generally the concept of it. It's supposed to be like a fun thing like that. We did play a game one time. It was very interesting, very entertaining. It was very outside the box. I'll put it that way. And I think that maybe they could just make a distinction that says, you know, these are only legal in an Unfinity format, not in a Legacy, whatever, or like, you know, or at least in a competitive setting. You know what I mean? If you want to, or maybe they make a different format where they figure out how to integrate that properly. I mean, there's already a lot of formats I know, but maybe you figure out a way to integrate it into other stuff. But also, I think this can also speak to card design about the sticker deck and this and that, where it's like it's almost starting to not be Magic. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because of that. There are other TCGs that do it, and a distinction of Magic is that you never had to worry about that stuff with Magic. So, so I feel like it's not unreasonable for people to be, you know, off put by it. What I really wanted to know, Ham, you said it was hard to find on Scryfall. How many underscores did you have to type before Goblin?
Actually, I actually kind of cheated it. I just typed in Goblin and scrolled until I saw it. It was relatively high on the list, so it wasn't that bad. But
I was going to say, how long did you have to scroll for?
not that bad. Well, it's also Goblin is a very common creature type. It doesn't show up in card names as often. So so that list is actually smaller than you might think. But yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Ham, what do you think, Ham, about all this?
So at the end of the day, I think unsets are fun. They are a fun novelty. And I mean, when they first started, you know, when I first started playing Magic, there was this one set that came out this one time called Unglued, you know, and it was fun and quirky, and it had these silver borders to note that, like, this is only legal. And it's funny, Numbskull, that's kind of the conclusion you came to, because that's what they had. They had this silver bordered, and it was one of those things where if a card had a silver border, it was a joke card that was not necessarily intended to, you know, to see any play in any competitive environments, and the legality didn't translate. Like, and for the video audience, I pulled up one of my favorite unglued cards, Ashnod's Coupon, which is an artifact for 0. Tap, sacrifice Ashnod's Coupon, target player gets you target drink. Hilarious. Like, and but that's a fun joke for Magic players. And the thing is, the first set had a ton of those, and they've done a couple of them since, and there are some very fun, kind of unique designs and good jokes in these. And as draftable environments so that people can be running around clucking like chickens and giving each other high fives and stuff, I have no problem with that idea. The thing about it is, I feel like the well's kind of running dry on these. And like, I feel like I find it hard to believe that they can go back to this joke mold time and time and time again, because we're getting to a point where they have included full art basics in these since the beginning. And we're getting to a point where the full art basics, and this last time around with Unfinity, they had to have, well, I mean, I'm going to say they had to have, I guess I don't really know if it was necessary, but they included shocklands. And, you know, they included like thematic shocklands. And
the fancy versions too, confetti foils and like crazy versions, really expensive versions of these lands.
Those are the Unfinities?
Yeah, these are the Unfinity ones, and they're gorgeous, to be sure.
Or something.
Yeah, no, these were in Unfinity packs, and
so you can play these in whatever.
Yeah. And so the idea, if you get a box and draft with some friends and just kind of maybe have a couple of drinks and are just kind of silly and make a party of it, and you walk away with you know, a couple of shocklands that people might need for a couple of other decks, neat. Like, that's a fun idea.
Those are expensive too.
These ones are, but they're printing these incredibly chase lands into the set. And that leads me to believe that, I mean, these are the Wonka's golden tickets, right? They're putting these into the set knowing full well that without them, the set does not have enough demand to be viable on the market. That's my read on the situation. I'm not a market, I'm not an economist, and I'm not working at Wizards, so I don't see the sales numbers on this kind of stuff. But that's the vibe I'm getting from it. And like, you don't need to put this into a set if the set is good. You
No,
know,
you're right. I think what you said is very true. The well running dry is interesting because I think they also are back in the day, like when that first Unhinged set came out, there was all these goofy characters and creature. It was like it wasn't just making your opponents do goofy stuff, but it was like really ridiculous creature types, kind of riffing off the real creatures in Magic and stuff, and making fun of their names and doing ridiculous things. But now it feels, Herloon Wrangler,
Herloon Wrangler,
Herloon
who has
Minotaur,
Denim Walk.
you know,
Yeah.
Oh, that
Denim
was the
Walk,
first one I ever heard about. In like 2014.
So,
Somebody
but
was
this is
telling me
the
about it. Yeah.
and these were funny. Like when there was no other. But remember, this was back when Magic was all serious. There were no punny cards in Magic. They were all pretty serious. Like very rarely there would be like a tongue-in-cheek reference to something in a Magic card, but it was almost unheard of. And so Unhinged was a real departure from normal sets. It was an actual just straight up joke set where there were all these inside jokes about Magic cards. Magic players loved all these callbacks to their favorite cards and everything. But now skip to 2024 or even 2023. Look at ever since Throne of Eldraine. I mean, look at the last Wilds of Eldraine with all the cookie puns and the candy pun. And these days, and the last couple sets are the same. It's like Outlaws of Thunder Junction's the same. There's so many cards now in regular Magic sets that are kind of joke cards. Yeah, like look at Tough Cookie or you know, Candy Grapple, and you know, it's like every other card is a pun. All of them are jokes now, so the joke sets don't really land because they're not that unique. We've already got all the puns in the regular Minstrosity, and Wilds of Eldraine was full of that stuff, right? But it seems like every set, even the last couple sets, it was. This is not to knock the set. Sure. I'm just saying it seems like Magic, and I talked about this before on the podcast. It's definitely trended in a much more lighthearted, kind of silly way, like silly tone that they're kind of going with it. Back in the day, original Magic was dark ritual. What you said, it was like steeped in dark magic, and you know, it felt evil and powerful and menacing, daunting. You know, like Magic, even old artifacts looked like ancient texts and tomes and things like that. Even the old inking and everything. That's what drew me into it, right? And as a kid, it felt like an adult game as a kid. Yeah. You know, it felt like I was playing with, these were not Pokemon cards. These were not like cartoonish stuff. This is like real, you know, like fantasy.
It felt like the next level of it.
Yeah, and yet nowadays it feels like a lot of the regular sets are jokey, kind of hokey. I mean, look at the what is that thing in the vault that they just opened? The little goofy Pokemon looking thing that everybody was, you know, kind of laughing, loot. Going, look at this. Loot. Yeah,
the key to everything.
The key to everything. You know, these kind of things, like this is where we are now, and we came like I don't know, it's so weird. So who needs a joke set? You know,
that's a great point. Yeah, the juxtaposition. Yeah, when you're taking things like Lord of the Pit and the Spirit of the Night, and you're subverting that. Ooh, okay, it's that tonal shift. I think that's a killer point. That's it.
And you're right about the lands. The lands was the other thing. Like when Unhinged Basics came out, we talked about this last a couple weeks ago. Those are still my favorite, and they were the first like big full art. Like wow, these are nice. And then Unglued had their fancy lands. But then as soon as OG Zendikar came, it was like that was the first base set where they said actually it's a land based set. We're going to give you the full arts, and everybody went crazy. And those Zendikar full arts were like a couple bucks each for a long time. And then they just started putting full arts in every single set. So even, like you said, even that aspect of the set isn't really pulling people in anymore and making them buy it. So I don't know. I really hope they just, like, no more unsets, no more joke sets. And if you do stuff like that, if you're, you know, working at Wizards, please make it not legal in constructed competitive formats. Sure. But Commander, I guess it's okay. Can I ask you guys, I don't play a ton of Commander. I know you play more than I do. Do you run into stickers or attractions in Commander very often? And how does that play? I've played
against attractions a couple of times, and it's fine. Like an attraction deck going off feels very similar to, you know, an enchantment deck or any other artifact deck going off. Because the attractions themselves are artifacts. Like you can interact with them. So it doesn't feel like your opponent has a whole bunch of emblems and they're untouchable. It's just another value engine that just does the thing. But there's kind of there's a die rolling element, so it's not, you know, it's not consistent. And there's some strategy involved with attractions that I think is kind of interesting. I have yet to play against stickers because I think every person that I've played against has just kind of accepted that stickers are kind of silly, so they just don't want to deal with them.
Because I was listening to, I think it was the MTG Goldfish podcast. They said they tried to play with a bunch of stickers and they were just a pain in the ass. They kept falling off all over the place, and it was just a logistics kind of nightmare. I don't know.
Yeah. But, I think with how Commander house rules or like pod rules usually go, like they might not want to play with you if you're playing one of those decks. Like in a on a regular basis. I get it if you go to an LGS and it's like someone just has the sticker deck, but like if you're like the guy who always has the sticker deck, like they might just secretly play Commander without you.
You think that's what happens? Maybe.
Yeah, you might just stop getting invited. Yeah.
Yeah, like you get like disinvited, but like, oh yeah, no man, we just haven't been getting together as much. You know, sorry man, we'll call you next time. Meanwhile, they've been 6 weeks without you.
The thing that I find hilarious with the stickers is like there's the goblin that, I mean, the design on that didn't need to be stickers. It just didn't need to be a sticker on this at all. So the way that it works is it's a 2/2 for 3. When it enters the battlefield, you put a name sticker on it, and then you get a 1 red mana for each unique vowel on the name sticker. So there is an optimal one that I think generates 4 mana, I want to say. But when they went to put this onto MTGO, they literally just replaced it with a die roll. Yeah. Like you literally just roll, like it's some auto number generator that gives you some number between 2 and 4 or whatever, and then that's it. Yeah. And it's like,
yeah, it's kind of ridiculous.
This didn't need to involve a sticker at all. And the cards that do really leverage stickers are ones that care about, you know, like whether or not a character in it is wearing a hat and one of the stickers has a hat on it or something. And those are all with the Acorn stamps. Those are all non-legal in these older formats. The ones that do have stickers seem to be pretty, I don't know, the sticker thing seems to be shoehorned onto it really hard. And I think it's kind of it's silly.
Maybe something else they could have done was like however many vowels your opponent's name has in it, add that much mana. Do something like that. And that way it's different every time.
Yep.
Oh boy.
There are very few names that don't have a vowel in my experience.
Where you live, people in Brazil are making 10 mana off that card now. What are you talking about? Or in the Middle East or something. I had a couple buddies. One of my buddies from Saudi Arabia.
Like, how long your first name is?
Your name could, you have your mother's maiden name and your father's maiden name, like Portugal, Brazil. You're making 15 mana. All right. Anyway, but let's move on. That stuff's all banned and good riddance. I hope they don't do it again.
I do not believe a single human being is missing those. Honestly, I don't believe that's hyperbole. I'm sure somebody out there had an attraction deck and is bummed, but generally speaking,
I'm sure they got something else to play.
I'm sure. Yeah, they'll be fine. They'll pivot. They'll be okay.
If you're playing in that format, you have plenty of Magic cards.
That's true. There are options. Very true. There are options.
There is another set coming out that's no joke. This
correct.
Set's going to be serious.
Yeah.
So Modern Horizons 3, it is the least joke set. They spoiled the Lumpus this past week. I can't say that with a straight face. Anyways, but but this is Modern Horizons. This is the. I mean, so far we've had 2 other Modern Horizons, and from what I understand, this is, disclaimer, not a Modern player, but I love following the information about it. Same way I deal with the video game industry these days. I almost never actually spend the time to play new releases, but I love hearing about it. It's the same deal with Modern. I listen to all the podcasts, I watch all the shows, but I don't actually play it myself.
Me too.
Regardless, Modern Horizons is a format that often will like soft rotate Modern in a way, or like it will shake up the meta significantly. Let me say it that way, in the least controversial way you can say that. It shakes stuff up. It always does. You know, Modern Horizons 2, the Evoke Elemental showed up. Also reprinting fetch lands, always great. And so here we have Modern Horizons 3 coming out. And we've seen a few more previews since the last time we talked. And holy cow, the Eldrazi. There's so much Eldrazi support, and they are really going ham on it right now. We are seeing a lot of it. And so I wanted to talk about a couple of those that we've seen so far. So,
all right. What would you like to start with?
Let's go ahead and start with Echoes of Eternity. Have you seen this? Have you heard about this? It is a Kindred enchantment. This is the first time that we're seeing Kindred actually. They modified. Yeah. They did the Oracle modification to all the past all the past cards. If you weren't familiar, there's a card type Tribal, which is since those old cards have come, have been around, it's kind of come to light that that's not really a particularly cool word, and so we're trying to avoid it. They used typal for a while, but they landed on kindred as the card type, which I think has a good ring to it. That's a good shift. And so if you're like, wait, what's a kindred card? It's like, well, think tribal from like old Lorwyn. It's same thing. They've literally that is the same thing. So this is a kindred enchantment Eldrazi, meaning this is an enchantment that has the creature type Eldrazi, which is kind of fun. And kindred is also a card type. And so as far as, if you play out, say, an Atraxa, Grand Unifier, this could be your kindred card that you pick up, which is kind of interesting. Okay. But regardless, this particular one, this kindred enchantment, it's 3 colorless. So total of 6, 3 of it has to be colorless. If a triggered ability of a colorless spell you control or another colorless permanent you control triggers, that ability triggers an additional time. But wait, there's more. Whenever you cast a colorless spell, copy it. You may choose new targets for the copy.
Yeah, that's something.
Yeah, it's powerful. So it's doing, what is it called? That artifact that doubles the triggers. I can't remember.
A Panharmonicon.
Panharmonicon, yeah.
Kind of, yeah. So it's doing something similar to that. Yeah. In addition to double
stuff.
Yeah, it's a Panharmonicon meets like a souped up. What is it? A double vision. I don't know if you remember that enchantment that can double spells. So it's all colorless spells, all colorless permanent triggers. I mean,
yeah. So is that like for Tron? Does that fit into like a Tron deck or something? Is that maybe what it's for?
If you're doing like an Eldrazi Tron situation where all your Eldrazi that have cast triggers, so like Ulamog that can exile stuff, that triggers twice off this. Null Drifter, which is one we talked about a little while ago. When you cast it, you draw 2 cards. That triggers twice off this. And you copy it, so 2 of them enter the battlefield. Anything with Annihilator triggers twice off this. I mean...
Yeah. The way it's worded is very powerful. If a triggered ability, so not an enter the battlefield ability, not a cast trigger, like all of the abilities, anything that triggers. So yeah, that's pretty powerful. But the drawback here, of course, it's 6 mana, and it doesn't do anything by itself. It's a pure engine piece. So you need to have a bunch of other stuff either already going or in your hand after you cast this to be able to get advantage. So how many like triggers are you really getting that late in the game? Even early in the game, in a Tron deck.
Tron, this could be like a turn 2 or 3, I think.
You're right, but then you have like 3 cards left. You have like 2 cards left because half the cards you spent are ramping,
you have to
right?
Follow it up or wait till next turn and hope you don't die.
I could see you playing this and getting like one big trigger off of something and then hoping to get some more stuff to keep triggering. But I don't know. Is it worth? Like, is the juice worth the squeeze? The squeeze is quite a lot here. Like 6 mana, 3 speed. Yeah,
you're right that Tron has the mana. It's just, but once you have that kind of mana, they're probably more proactive and more efficient things you can be doing. Yeah.
I think there actually are definitely much better 6 drops in Tron on turn 3 that are already in the deck.
Right.
So
right.
So that's a weird one. That's reasonable.
Yeah. That said, this is going to be an absolute money pull though, because Eldrazi Commander players are going to eat this up.
Yeah,
oh my goodness. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anybody playing an Eldrazi deck in Commander right now, they're sitting there with their, their 12 copies of Forsaken Monument and go like, oh, finally, we got a 6 drop for you. All right.
Yeah, like sitting in their dormant volcano hideout, evil supervillains, Eldrazi Tron.
Yes, if you own every copy of, exactly. If you own every copy of Ulamog and Kozilek that's ever been printed, this one's for you. Yep.
From the links you sent us, it's already like $25. But I mean, I know that's like
pre-order.
It's pre-order.
Honestly, it gets crazy.
Yeah, pre-order usually is pretty inflated, and once it comes down, that'll drop. But I would be shocked if this one doesn't. I don't think this one's gonna dip as far as a lot of others, and it's and this is one of those where in a year or two, it's gonna be right. It's gonna be right back up there. I think this is gonna be a lot of people are gonna want this in Commander.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it could be. Lots of Eldrazi here, though.
So much Eldrazi stuff. Speaking of Eldrazi stuff, we also have a Devourer of Destiny. So this one has a couple of triggers on it, which is notable. So this is a 6/6 Eldrazi for 5 colorless at rare. You may reveal this card from your opening hand. If you do, at the beginning of your first upkeep, look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may put one of those cards back on top of your library. Exile the rest. And when you cast this spell, exile target permanent that's 1 or more colors.
Yeah, interesting. That free impulse type effect that it's got on it is Very powerful. If you played the old like Mirrored and Besieged with the Praetors and stuff, and the ones that revealed on the first turn, the Chancellor of the Annex and the Chancellor of the Forge and all that stuff. And when they were first spoiled, people were like, yeah, that's okay and everything. But once you started playing with them, that is very powerful. Anything that just gets to do a free thing, if it's in your opening hand, whether it's a ley line or a something like this, or Once Upon a Time, or those old Chancellors. They ended up being like really powerful. I mean, the green one I'm pretty sure is banned in Commander still, and the white one saw play in a bunch of different decks. The one that basically gives you a free 1/1 for nothing on turn 2. Yeah, chat. Is it
Nuts.
the Tangle? Oh wait, no, not this guy. Oh, I'm thinking of somebody else.
I was about to say, no, this one's still legal. Yeah, but real for where we can do. Yeah, your first mana phase, you just they spot you mana. Like,
Anyway, free value. Free value is good. It's good on a obviously big expensive spell, because then you know, it does have a little value in the early game, so you have that. But is the big expensive part good? 7 mana for a 6/6 that when you cast it, it Necrotal kills something, ETB destroys something. Is that good? I don't even know if that's worth it.
I don't know, but if I reveal this in the opening hand and then pitch this to an Uggin's Labyrinth,
okay,
I'm having a good day.
That's pretty good.
Is there enough synergy that this lines up with so that is it checking all the right boxes, And that's what, and the free value is ultimately why I want to discuss it. Because if it was just a 6/6 when you cast it, exile a thing, like, okay, it's an Eldrazi, Meteor Golem, whatever. But that free clause, like that feels like there's something there.
I think it's good in a combo deck. I think if you're playing a combo deck, that is the kind of effect you want. That impulse, that dig, okay, I have this in my opening hand, I'm playing Reanimator or whatever, or I don't know, something that bring these, you're playing a bunch of big fatties and powerful spells to combo with them. Then maybe you want this impulse effect. Yeah, find that combo piece, leave it on top. Okay, now I can reanimate this Eldrazi or whatever you're going to do. Maybe, but I have no idea what a combo deck built around giant Eldrazi and everything would look like, but because that's what it reminds me of, like impulse. That's what you want in a lot of the combo decks, is dig towards your combo pieces. But I don't know. Outside of that, I'm not sure. But Numbskull, what do you think? Do you see this seeing play anywhere? Any of these Eldrazi?
Yeah, and maybe it ends up being like a Tron card, or I can see it maybe also like being a sideboard card. For the exiling stuff. Kind of, it's almost like it's like a creature ley line kind of thing almost, with like starting in your hand. So like those are often sideboard cards. So maybe this ends up being a sideboard card somewhere. I do like Ham's idea with the Uggin's Labyrinth. That feels like they kind of threw you a bone there to make it good.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, or like to just at least give you an idea right off the bat of whatever it might be. And yeah, I mean, there are some of these decks, it's just like at 7 mana, I think maybe we'd have to wait and see, because I don't know, the whole set isn't revealed yet, is it?
No, we haven't. Yeah, we haven't seen everything yet.
So we may have to wait and see. Like, they might reveal a better 7 drop. You know what I mean? It kind of remains to be seen, and I'm sure you could do better with 7 mana in that format. So it's like, I think you're also right, Damien. Like, there's got to be some kind of combo going on, and maybe maybe we've seen a couple pieces of the combo in the Labyrinth and this, and maybe there's something else waiting for us that makes it good. Maybe there's a card that lets you like grab cards from exile that's coming and do something like that.
What was it called? They did that before.
They have,
there was I know there was the 5 mana Kaya Planeswalker. You could cast legendaries from exile. That was really cool.
Karn the Great Creator can pull stuff out of the exile as well. Like they're we can touch the exile zone. Yeah, there's definitely that is a thing.
If they make it like a way for you to interact it, or if you get rewarded for casting from exile, it can make the card better. And you could actually, maybe you want to exile some cards with it, and you actually don't even care what card. Well, you're going to care what card you put on top, and that'll be great. But you're also going to benefit from the cards that you otherwise wouldn't even have been able to use. Maybe that makes it a little better,
Potentially.
Yeah, that impulse seems good, but
additionally, if you have multiples, you can. I believe there's nothing stopping you from triggering off all of them. Now, you're going to ultimately see, if you have 2 of these, you're ultimately going to see 7 cards. in addition to your starting 7, and you get to pick one of them ultimately to be on top. You look at 4, you keep 1. If it's the cards you want, okay, great. The next round happens and it probably stays. If it's not though, you get to look at another 4. That one is included amongst them, and then you get to pick from those. So that's that could be a sizable dig if they're in the opener. But then you're stuck with 7 drops in your opening hand. So you better have something to do with those. Something you can use.
Yeah,
we'll
see.
But anyway,
I don't know. I feel like in Modern especially, there's better big things to be putting in your deck, but we'll see. All this Eldrazi synergy, I mean, most of these cards that might not seem that amazing on their face, or might have obvious deficiencies, might be much better when surrounded by a bunch of other support cards and ways to ramp and everything else. So we'll see what the set brings. But the other spoilers were mostly commons. There were a couple uncommons. Did you want to touch on any of these?
There were a couple commons and uncommons, and there's one that I think is honestly just fun, so I wanted to talk about it. Kozilek's Unsealing. It is an enchantment for 2 and a blue, but it's devoid, so it's technically colorless. I know that was a keyword that I know we were really hoping would come back, so don't worry, devoid's back, everybody. Whenever you cast a creature spell with mana value 4, 5, or 6, create 2/0/1 colorless Eldrazi spawn creature tokens, sack out a colorless. And whenever you cast a creature spell with mana value 7 or greater, draw 3 cards.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes
3 cards?
Pretty good.
Okay, now all of a sudden my Devourer of Destinies is also an Ancestral Recall. Like, if I can actually get to it. That seems decent, but anyway.
Yeah. No, you're right. I mean, the payoff there is huge if you can start drawing 3 cards off every single Eldrazi you play. I guess I just, again, like when I see a card like this, I think the first thing I think is, so when I play this, I spend 3 mana, I go down 1 card in my hand, and nothing happens. Like, again, the board doesn't change. I don't create any creatures that can attack or block. I don't do damage to my opponent. I don't eat any of their resources or anything. So I feel like, again, you have to either be I don't know, ramping so quickly that you can kind of take a turn off to play a 3-drop early and then keep playing your stuff and get value off it. Or I don't know, like these kind of cards, again, like the last one is Devourer of Destiny at least has this out in the early game that it does something, but this is just like, it's a 3-mana card that by itself doesn't do anything, right? It's like that 6-mana Kindred enchantment.
Right.
So I don't know, like, is that good enough? So the payoff, the juice here has to be worth this, downside of I have to play a card that does nothing on turn 3 or turn 4. It's at some stage in the early game, I have to essentially take a turn off to do nothing. Is the payoff worth that? Can I come back from behind? It was the same question you asked yourself in OTJ, the new set in Limited with Plot. At first, when they spoiled Plot, I'm like, wow, that's a tall order. Like in Limited, the last few years, it's been like, you got to curve out, 2-drop into 3-drop, 1 into 2 into 3, and that's just how Limited is. And so you want to print a mechanic where I pay 3 mana and I don't do anything, like I just have to wait another turn. But the way it's played out, the Plot actually works. Like, yeah, you kind of fall behind, take some damage. The opponent, builds their board, and then as soon as you get to turn 5, you just play like 3 spells that you've plotted, and you just get this boost again from behind. So I feel like, yeah, this card could be good if you're the next thing you're playing is that impactful. Drawing 3 is pretty good. That makes it kind of we'll see.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's the obvious downside. So I don't know if that is going to kill it, but I'm always leery of these kind of cards. You can't put too many of these in your deck. You're going to draw these and not 7 drops.
100%.
It's kind of it kind of matters. Like, and this is maybe like some of these cards are something that like could come back and be better later because it just depends on like where the format is at a given time. If Modern is going to be a really fast format after this set is released, then some of these cards that we're talking about might not be very good. But if these cards see enough play to slow down the format, then it could make it where everybody's setting up these crazy combos, and now you have to wait for it, or you have to deal with your opponent's stuff. So you don't have time for like these. I don't know, like aggro. I know mono reds in every format, but like I don't know how effective the aggro decks are in Modern. You know what I mean?
Yeah, these days. I mean, yeah.
I know there are combos that you can win on, early. But like, if you're not worried about the actual aggro decks, like maybe it's okay. Or maybe this is all something that you don't cast on turn 3.
I mean, I compare it to me, I look at a card like Simulacrum Synthesizer, and I look at this, and they cost the same amount of mana. They both are non-creature permanents. Sorry?
Simulacrum is ridiculous.
Yeah, and it's ridiculous, exactly. And I think the big difference here, of course, is because, first of all, it ETBs and does something. It actually scries too, which isn't a big deal, but hey, it helps. But more importantly, it triggers off almost every other card in your deck. It's way easier to trigger this. Like, that other enchantment is specifically something that costs 7. Okay, now you're doing a big thing. The making a couple Eldrazi spawn, that's just to basically get you to the 7-drop, right? So that's not really what you're doing this for. You really want to draw 3 cards off every 7-drop. So suddenly, it's an enchantment or it's an engine that only gets paid off when you hit a very small percentage of your deck, whereas Simulacrum Synthesizer pays you off for a vast majority, like a huge chunk of your deck, drawing and playing any of those cards in literally any 3-mana artifact, which the deck will have way more than an Eldrazi deck will have 7-drops. You just can't have all 7-drops in your deck. So anyway, so that's why I feel like, it's a do nothing that actually it doesn't even scry. It doesn't ETB and make make a mana or there's no benefit. It has no ETB.
If it ETB'd and spotted you 1 Scion or something, just something.
Then it's something, right? But it just does nothing when it ETBs. So anyway, I don't know if something like this will be good enough, but hey, Eldrazi can go in 2 directions, right? But this doesn't fit in an aggro deck. I was gonna say there were Eldrazi aggro decks before, and they were powerful. There were some low to the ground, more aggressive decks around at one point in Modern. But that was a long time ago. They're using there was a couple that pumped all your Eldrazi and 3-drops that died into more 3-drops, and it basically the curve topped at 5 at Reality Smasher. Everything else was much smaller, and but again, that's not where this belongs. This wants to go big. So
I'm actually realizing there are 2 things that I think you're. 100%, I agree with everything you just said, but there are 2 other limitations on it that make it even worse. We have the blue mana in the mana cost, so if you're playing a traditional Tron deck and the stars align and you have all 3 lands down by turn 3, you have access to 7 mana, but it's all colorless. So that blue kind of kills it. Whereas if that was colorless, then you'd be able to play this and then a 4-drop and at least get something out of it right out of the gate. However, it only triggers off creature spells. Not any spell, because if you could 7 mana this, then Karn Great Creator and get a trigger, that would be pretty solid. I think at least it's doing something and fitting. It fits into a little puzzle piece that you have there. But as it stands, they put a couple things in place that prevents that from being meaningful either. So
that creature only thing.
We're again in a commander situation, but even then the blue kind of limits the number of decks that can appear in too, which is kind of a bummer. But
something else that trends it down for me also is, and this is something where I think maybe they could have made this is how you make it more playable, and maybe it's too broken if you do it this way, but if the Eldrazi's that you get, the 0/1s that tap for colorless, if you didn't have to sacrifice them and you just tapped them,
oh my goodness, that
would light this up.
That'd be nuts.
Just one little change. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
that's a big change.
That would be significant. But yes, that would be
one word changes everything. Change sacrifice to tap.
Yeah.
Oh God! So it goes from 3 to 5 mana, right off the bat. That's
that
scary.
would be ridiculous.
That would be ridiculous. Can't confirm.
This is gonna change the world. You know what I mean?
Of note, though, this triggers off of any creature spell. It doesn't have to be colorless.
You don't even have to play Eldrazi's technically.
So
you're right.
So come to think of it, big Simic value or big teamer nonsense that we see in Commander could still take advantage of this. So there'll be a place for it. Yeah.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we'll see what the rest of the set brings. Every week we'll probably cover a few new spoilers.
Absolutely.
From Modern Horizons, but there's not much else to talk about today in the spoiler section here.
Absolutely. And normally we as of late the streams or the podcasts have been pretty long because we're all very opinionated folks. But honestly, this week was pretty thin, and so One thing, if you actually would like to ask us questions directly, you can join the MagicJank Discord server. You can throw questions into that channel, and we will, answer them on the air. You can also follow up with us on like our YouTube and our comment sections if you want to drop any questions in there. We'd love to hear from you.
Yes.
You can also tweet at us. That's the thing. I'm still calling them tweets. I'm not sorry.
Don't you dare tweet at me. I will not answer it. Don't tweet at me. Ever.
Feel free to tweet at me. Depending what you say, you might not like what I say. That's all.
Comes with a disclaimer.
Oh, now you have to.
For any smoke, because you'll get it. But you can. I'm always down to chat.
Love it. Good stuff. But one kind of idea that that Damien brought to the table in a recent episode, which we neglected last week, so sorry, folks, is at the last point of order. Let's just ask kind of a general question, and kind of present us with a thought to kind of kick some discussion just around something. And Damien, you got some ideas. So
so I like this idea because there's so many interesting aspects to Magic where it's not about the cards you play or this or that or there's so many adjacent things to Magic that people love, and they love to tie things in their life and stuff to Magic. So I like asking questions about like personal stuff, like what are the personal touches you put on your deck. For example, Numbskull last week or 2 weeks ago now, I asked Carlo and Ham if what is your go-to basic land that you use in your like primo decks? Like this is your baby. This is the deck I'm going to bring to that RCQ, that whatever I want to show off, or I'm very proud of it. I want to bring it to. What is your go-to basic land for your primo deck, your baby?
So you're asking me? Hang on.
Which swamp? Which swamp are you using? That's what I want to know.
Yeah. I'm literally finding the swamp right now to show you.
Oh, heck yeah. All right. Love it. Yeah.
It's the Theros full art. I'll say that.
Oh.
Theros full art. Oh, yeah.
Yes.
With the mana symbols on them. Okay.
Yeah, the Nyx. Yes.
Yeah.
I have one of my go-to commander decks has those basics, and I love it.
Yeah.
They're gorgeous. I'm looking for them as well. Yep.
So that was the question. Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
I was going to say I like that, but also, in Thunder Junction, the new one was pretty sweet too. So there was a pretty cool new one. I think my deck is in the other room that has them, but it also has the swamp symbol too, though. It's kind of cool.
Yeah. So here's the Theros one. Yeah.
Yeah, the Theros one's there. What's the OTJ? You're saying it's the basic land from OTJ, or is it some special version?
There's the full art OTJ. It's pretty cool this time around.
Oh, okay.
Also,
nice.
Not to dwell too long on that one, but funny story, when I was in Chicago at MagicCon, and I was playing the standard, it wasn't the big 75K, it was the one below that. Like I think they call it like the standard showdown or something, I don't know, something like that. And that one, that one's really, I do like that one a lot. The judge came over and was just like looking at my deck after a round, and just... and they weren't doing like an actual deck check. We're just like kind of chilling. We were just waiting for the next round. And she starts going through my deck, and I had like some Zendikar full art lands, because I didn't have a full thing of the Theros lands. Because I don't know if you ever bought them, but they're like $1 a piece for the Theros full art. It's not cheap. And if you're playing a monocolor in standard, you need to buy like almost 20 of them, so you're gonna, you know what I mean? It's like it can add up.
For basics.
But so she's like, she points at the Zendikar land, she's like, these are lame. I was like, okay. So the judge is roasting my land, so I was like, all right, well, okay. So I tried to get some cooler lands. It's a little easier in what do you call it? In Pioneer, because there's so many utility lands, you only run like 8 basics.
Right.
So I can afford to play all cool lands in that deck. You know what I mean? So I do need to get some more Theros. Long story short, though.
Nice. That's a solid choice. I think Theros is solid. But that was the question from a couple weeks ago. So just to give you an idea of what these questions are.
Sure.
So today's question is going to be a little bit more... I don't know what the word is. Not directly related to cards in the game, let's say, but I was asked this question. We talked about this on my stream a little bit, and I thought it was interesting. So let me ask you guys first what you think. Maybe Ham, if you could have any keyword ability from any creature in Magic, what would it be in real life? If you could have a keyword ability in real life, what would it be? Now, there's a lot of keyword abilities. Now, obviously, I'm not talking about things that are specific to certain sets with energy or other stuff. I don't know.
Sure.
But like your basic evergreen mechanic keyword abilities. You know what I mean?
Sure.
What would you have? Think about it. Think about it for a second.
I already have Devoid, but I don't need to express that. I don't need to. Anyway, I don't need to go further into that joke.
The guy can't suntan. He's colorless.
Yeah, no, not at all. Colorless. All right. But I mean, okay. My answer is pretty. My honest answer is not super inspiring, but it's got to be flying. Like,
yeah,
the ability to fly is just too cool.
Pretty cool. Pretty
yeah.
cool.
Okay.
So I mean, I feel like that's kind of a but at the same time, that's not super interesting. So
it's sweet though.
I mean, it's just cool,
flying.
right?
Yeah, flying's just cool. Flying's always cool.
Yeah, can't go wrong.
Numbskull, what do you say?
I would say mine would be Ward.
Ward. Oh, who hurt you?
You gotta pay extra to bother me.
You gotta pay extra. Yes. Okay, that works.
Just turn subscriber only chat on Twitch. There you go. That's Ward.
Exactly.
Yeah,
that's Ward $5. That's
Twitch Ward.
Great.
Yeah.
Twitch.
Yeah,
I gotta.
Yeah, so,
you need it. You need Ward sometimes. People are annoying. Yeah,
100%. I get it. Yeah.
Crazy
just go.
World, man. If,
you've
if you just like walked around and then just like. Not that it says it on your forehead, but if there was a way that everybody knew it just from you walking around, it would probably make your life easier.
Yeah, or you could go full the hikomori. I think they're hikomori in Japan. The recluses they just have full on shroud. They just go full shroud. Don't even. You want to contact me? No, I don't care how much money you. No,
I can't even contact myself.
Right.
But
oh my goodness,
I think mine
yeah
would be one of the most. Probably the lamest mechanic ever printed. It hasn't seen the light of day in decades on a Magic card. Decades. But it's an ability from my childhood, and I never knew how it really worked, but I think it would be pretty awesome to have in real life. Banding. I would like to have banding so that I could join with anybody. I could get along with everybody and you know, I don't know. Be friendly and have no issues with anyone. Just band with everybody. Let's get everybody banded together. We can put aside our differences.
I love it.
Banding.
Like
no
that.
idea how it works. Nobody knows how it works. I remember as a kid screwing it up so many times. But
yeah, there's a reason they never. There's a reason they will never bring this back.
Yeah. I don't actually. I don't know. I don't want to look it up, but anyway, go Google it if you want to look up how banding works.
Yeah, honestly, I don't think it can be explained in fewer than like 500 words. Like it's so convoluted. But so what ends up? Yeah, basically you end up. It allows it affects attacking and blocking, but you kind of like group your creatures so they can attack as a band, so they all attack together. And if any one of them becomes blocked. They are now all blocked by the things that blocked, but then you, the attacker, get to decide which of the attacking things it has the damage assigned to it. So the advantage is actually really significant if you know how to game it. But it's so complicated.
It's complicated,
yeah. And the value is powerful, but like not in an intuitive way at all.
And remember, if you remember the creatures that had banding, it was like Benelish Hero, like a 1-mana 1/1, full stop with banding. Right. That's it. Or that the phalanx you post 2/4 with banding. It's like at least if it's got a little bit more toughness, okay, I get it. So I bring this guy along for the attack, and then I assign the damage to him or whatever. But yeah, like 1/1s with banding. For 3 mana.
I also love banding and flying. Like that's such a gumpy combination because it's like, so wait, if I'm banding with only other flyers, then only the flyers can. Yeah.
Although how are you even banding anyway, it's kind of like
I didn't say it was a great mechanic in game. I just said if in real life it would be great to just get along with everybody.
Flavorfully, it's lovely. Yes, I get.
Anyway, so that's our question of the week. We got to think of a new one for next week. We'll try and think of a spicy one. If you guys have any suggestions out there, for those of you listening, shoot us a message. Not at me, but tweet at
tweet at MagicJank. You'd also hit me up at Hawks42 on the Twitters and whatnot.
There you go.
Yeah, absolutely. Or pop into our Discord. Yep.
If you want to comment what your keyword would be too.
Let us know.
Yes. What?
Yeah, I had some pretty.
A few years ago, I would have said lifelink, which is kind of basic. But
how would that
I
work?
really-
So yeah, in real life, you eat and you just get healthier, or you punch somebody and you get healthier.
When you hurt
like,
others,
suddenly,
you gain.
If I hit you, I get healthier. I live longer.
I broke my arm. Come here, bang! Oh, that feels so much better. Yeah,
Man, you would be just undefeated, like in MMA or boxing.
Yeah,
right? I mean, you would just
I would definitely be an MMA fighter if I had
go full combat sport. Oh yeah. For sure.
There were people saying menace, and there were people saying there were people doing intimidation. Yeah, like a bunch of different abilities. Death touch. That wouldn't be fun.
Death touch would be rough.
Yeah, but
Lonely
anyway.
world.
But yeah, let us know what you think. What your keyword would be,
Absolutely.
and if you have any good questions for next week, be sure to drop us a line.
Definitely, yeah. And the links for all of that is in the description, as well as the links where you can find all of these lovely folks. But while we're here, let's also go around the horn and go ahead and plug your stuff, gentlemen. Let's let people know where they can find you on the internet. So, Numbskull, let's start with you. Where can people find you, and what can they expect to see when they get there?
I'm at twitch.tv/num_skull_. That was only Numbskull that wasn't taken. And you can catch me. I'm usually like 3 nights a week, and mostly to weekends now with my work schedule for streaming. But it's a lot of competitive Magic. And then you may see me randomly live stream a tournament IRL. So we have that too. And then the stream and just me playing digitally is where I do a lot of prepping for tournaments too. So you'll see me getting ready, talking about what I'm going to be doing. But then also we've got having me take a look at a deck, viewer decks that I play sometimes, stuff like that. So it's always a fun time. We listen to good music, we hang out, and we play a lot of mono black and some Rakdos.
The music's top notch, by the way. I like the music.
Yeah. And Damien, how about you?
You can find me as usual on Twitch, twitch.tv/DamienF16. No underscores. I'm not a goblin. All right, I don't use any of that stuff. But anyway, I'm going to be on YouTube as well, DamienF16. Daily content, streaming 6 days a week. Magic, the usual. Standard, Explorer, Limited. I don't dabble too much in Timeless and Historic, but Modern Horizons 3, I'm going to be drafting a ton. I can't wait to draft. That was one of the other things. Like, that draft is like $80 or $70 where I live. Like, the shops, those master sets are so... In Canadian, it's like $70. So I'm just like, no. I'm just like, I can do it on Arena. Now, I just hope it's not like 5,000 gems a draft, but we'll see, I guess. What
they might charge extra, we'll see.
But yeah, we're on Arena, DamienF16 on Twitch, DamienF16 on YouTube. So how about you, Ham? Where can they find you?
So I'm on twitch.tv/HamHawks42. You can find me there. I'm also on Twitter @Hawks42. I'm also on YouTube trying to figure out what the heck I should be doing over there. After this many years, you think I'd have it figured out? Definitely not. But we're live streaming Monday through Friday in the morning, starting at 7:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, which I know is a weird time. But if you have like a day job and want some fun Magic banter in a separate window while you think about answering those emails that you've been meaning to get to, I got you. So yeah, that's that's a good time. So yeah, nice. So thank you everybody for tuning in. Thank you gentlemen for being here. This was an absolute blast. And yeah, Numbskull, thanks for joining. We definitely got to do this again sometime.
Anytime.
All right. Yeah. But yeah, so everybody, thank you so much. We'll be back next week and have a good one. Later.